Once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to the Founder Fundamentals session on digital marketing hosted by Space and the Markham Small Business Center. I'm Alina and I'm the Student and Community Engagement Coordinator at Space. As usual, for those of you who are joining for the first time, I would like to share and tell you about all the programs and services Space has to offer to York University students, faculty members, and even to the extended community. Space is York University's entrepreneurship hub, and it consists of several incubator and accelerator programs designed to support entrepreneurs like yourself. We also run two diverse streams, the Space Ella program that supports women-led businesses and the Black Entrepreneurship Alliance that supports Black-led businesses. Some of our staple programs include the Tech Accelerator program, the Venture Catalyst, and the Founder Fundamentals series. All of these programs are free and offer to the community to support and guide entrepreneurs. So I encourage all of you to make the most use of these resources. You can also sign up for our newsletter to remain updated with our programs and events. With the Founder Fundamentals series, of course, our main goal is to provide you with the basic skills, guidance from industry professionals, and the understanding you need to kickstart your entrepreneurial journey. I would like to remind you that if you attend at least 9 workshops in the series, you will receive a certificate from Innovation York after the last session has ended. Please keep in mind that you have to stay in each session for at least an hour to be eligible for that certificate. You don't have to do anything at your end. Zoom will provide us with your login and logout details. But like I said earlier, please make sure that you're attending this session with your full name so I can identify you. Before I begin, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who are working behind the scenes to make this series possible. In particular, I would like to thank Nafis Ahmed, the Entrepreneurship Manager at Space. Nafis has worked very hard to source all the facilitators and prepare the topics for the session. So thank you so much, Nafis. I would also like to thank Jacob, who is our digital events assistant, co-op student, for helping me put together the series for you. Additionally, I'd like to take a moment to thank our partner, the Markham Small Business Center, for providing their support with the series. And I'd like to welcome Anthony Fung from the Markham Small Business Center on screen to say a few words.
Hi, thank you so much, Lena. So as she said, I'm just representing the Markham Small Business Center. We offer a variety of small business assistance in regards of online seminars and workshops to further assist entrepreneurs such as yourself with any kind of assistance you guys may need. I'll drop my email after my little spiel here. But essentially, if you have any questions in regards to how to operate your business, how to grow it, how to streamline it, we're here for you. We offer a lot of free services that can really help you, reach your potential. Furthermore, just to let you guys know that if you haven't heard of already, there is several grant opportunities for you guys. So primarily there is the Canadian Digital Adoption Program, also known as CDAP. So that is a $2,400 grant you can apply for. In order to be eligible, you just need to have earn at least $30,000 in income. And you can be a home business. You don't need to have a brick and mortar location. And you need at least one employee, which includes yourself. So if you are your own business owner and you have no other employees, and your home business or brick and mortar, and you earn at least 30,000 in the last year, you are eligible to apply for this grant. So if any other questions, I can kind of drop that link in as well. As well, there's another grant that's currently on pause right now. The deadline was this last week, but it's resuming in January. So if you guys want to mark your calendars down, it is a digital transformation grant. It's $2,500. And the only difference there is you have to be a brick and mortar location. That's the primary difference. So all in between CDAP and Digital Transformation Grant, that's $4,900 in grants that you can apply for. That's basically there for you as long as you put some time into it. But yeah, it's there for you. And if any other questions, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions for you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Anthony. Before we begin the session, I'd like to go over some housekeeping rules. Please make sure that your mics are muted during the session. If you have any question, please feel free to leave it in the chat. Jason will go over the questions towards the end of the session or even during the session if he feels fit. Right. Now, for tonight's session on digital marketing, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Jason. Jason has over 18 years of consulting and marketing experience and has worked with and grown a lot of amazing brands, such as ACCO Brands, Air Canada, Aviva Insurance, Big Spickle, BMO, RBC, Rogers, and the list goes on. Jason has worked with startups and enterprise organizations in industries including e-commerce, tech, CPG, financial services, telecommunications, and many more. He is a great resource for startups, and currently he's working on helping Shopify e-commerce stores profitably scale to 8 figures, developing email and SMS marketing strategies, and implementing automation in Klaviyo, Salesforce, and MailChimp to drive growth. Jason is also fighting to stop Asian hate and leading change around diversity, inclusion, and representation. Jason, thank you so much for being here today. I welcome you to the Founder Fundamental series and invite you to start the session.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Helena. And this is such an amazing program. I think it's really great that you guys are putting this together for startups in our area. And I'm just kind of grateful to get a chance to spend this kind of hour and a half, I guess, with everybody here. And yeah, hopefully make it useful for you. So we'll try to keep it pretty informal. You know, like I want to use the polls, use the chats. I want to make sure this session is useful for everybody that's online. So feel free to not just be a listener, but an active participant as we kind of go through it. And with that being said, I think we have our first poll. So this is my high level agenda, right? I'll give you a quick update on me, what digital marketing is, where to start, how to prioritize your channels. We'll go through some tools and tips, different free ones and paid ones, how to hire, who to hire, where to hire, and then leave time for Q&A. But if you want to, I think there's a poll that made it pop up in front of you right now with a couple of options around like digital strategy, prioritizing channels, whether it's, you know, getting your website up, SEO, email, social, paid ads, you know, content marketing, tools, hacks. There's quite a bit we could cover in obviously this 1.5 hour, 2 hour time slot. So I want to make sure it's useful for you so we can maybe adjust a little bit, just depending on what people's interests are. It looks like digital strategy is definitely a bucket that people want to cover. Social media looks like maybe it's number 2 right now. And then we have paid ads, SEO, and some other bit too. So I can speak a little louder. Can everybody hear me okay? I just want to make sure the volume's okay. I'll try to speak up, but hopefully everybody can hear me. Okay, so let's kind of jump into it. I'll try to keep those in mind. So thanks for answering the poll there. Okay, so who am I? I kind of put a couple slides together for this. I'm actually an engineer pretending to be a marketer. I went to Waterloo, studied electrical engineering, and did a software engineering option. And kind of coming out of school, I got into tech. So I worked at Deloitte Consulting for a while, you know, did projects with pretty much every single bank, you know, BMO, TD Bank, CIBC, worked with Rogers, ACCO Brands down in the States. And I did that for, you know, 4 or 5 years. I was in tech consulting. After that, I kind of decided I wanted to get out of tech. So I kind of did a little bit of a pivot and I went back to school, did my MBA at Rotman, focused on strategy and marketing. And basically I've been on the agency side ever since, right? So like after I got out of my MBA, I went to an agency and we did work for like Air Canada, Smuckers, Swiss Chalet, a bunch of different big enterprise brands. And we did everything from like email marketing, building websites, social media, some paid ads, basically every channel at some point I've kind of touched it in my career. So pretty wide breadth of different marketing channels. And that kind of leads us to now, right? So like about 3 years ago, 2019 summer, it was like couple days before my birthday, and I was just like, I've always had this itch to start my own company. If I'm not going to do it, I'm never going to do it. And I had this idea of just like the world's going fully remote. I think people want to do freelance work. I think people want to not have to go 9 to 5 to an office, which I always hated. And then I was pretty right, but what I thought was going to be 10 years literally happened obviously overnight. So I started my remote agency with a focus on helping e-commerce brands. So we mostly work with people running on Shopify, and the main service we provide is email marketing and SMS. And yeah, I don't think if I didn't say it earlier in the chat, please introduce yourselves to each other. Post your name, post where you're from, how long you've been running your business, or maybe it's still an idea. If you have a website, feel free to post that too, or your business concept. I want to just make sure it's interactive, and you all get a chance to kind of network a little bit too, and get to know each other. Okay, so that kind of takes us to today and where we're at. So the first kind of slide I have here is what is digital marketing? Pulled a little definition here from the first website I could find when I Googled it. But if anybody has a good definition, feel free to drop it in the chat of what you think digital marketing is. I'll kind of read this one that I found online. It says, digital marketing is the component of marketing that uses the internet and online-based digital technologies, such as desktop, mobile, other digital media, and platforms to promote products and services. So I don't know what you think about that definition, but I think it's pretty shitty. I honestly don't even know what the hell that just said. So I don't really like that definition of digital marketing. It doesn't really add anything to me. So like what I would define it as, to just really summarize it and break it down, is it's about getting noticed, right? It's about being considered when someone's deciding whether to buy something. It's getting purchased, obviously, which is the big part. And then it's being talked about, okay? If you wrap your head around these four concepts around like, how do I get eyeballs? How do I get people to actually consider me when they're gonna decide to buy this product? How do I get that purchase? And then how do we get people that did buy our stuff to talk about us? That's kind of the focus of what you would hear kind of in this marketing jargon as customer life cycle, okay? And I'll jump into like what that customer life cycle looks like. So at a more formal level, to that kind of four buckets that I kind of said, this is kind of the customer life cycle. So very top of the funnel, awareness, right? Do people know you exist, okay? Main goals here is, you want to inform, you want to educate people on what products you have, you want to show value, you want to collect a list of emails. So key metrics are like website visits. How many new visitors are we getting? Because some are like returning visits versus new visits, and also like impressions. So whether that's like your social posts or your ads or your email opens, basically what you're measuring here is eyeballs, right? Do people know we exist? Next kind of phase down is consideration, okay? So like goals here are, again, talking more about your products, educating them so they consider buying yours over a competitor, and understanding the differences between your product versus competitors. The other important part of this phase is like remove barriers too. There's going to be reasons why people are unsure about buying, whether it's like, what's the warranty? What's the shipping? Like, where's this made? All those type of questions. How do you answer those questions so that people don't need to search for the answers? That's all kind of during this consideration phase. And I would say the key metrics here, clicks, list signups, return visits, events on your website, like viewing products, people adding stuff to cart, people starting their checkout. These are all events that you can measure, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit of like how to see what's going on during this phase. Purchase, pretty straightforward. How do you get that, conversion? How do you get someone to buy? How do you track your customers, your new customers, the conversion rate on your website? And then AOV is just your average order value. So if you just take your sales for the month, divide it by the number of whatever items you sell, what's that average order value look like is another key number to track. And then the next kind of part down is loyalty. Again, this is how do you surprise and delight your customers? How do you figure out ways to get them to talk about your brand, right? You want referrals, you want them to leave reviews, you want them to, post on your social. This is all that phase around like, how do you not just upsell, cross sell, get them to buy again, but also just be a raving fan of your brand. And then that last bucket is just, where you don't want to be, which is just kind of lapsed customers, right? So this is where you start getting into win backs, retargeting ads, all that kind of stuff to try and get people to come back that have stopped buying from you. Maybe they've stopped engaging with you. They stop opening and clicking your emails. Very hard bucket, but a very important bucket to also look at to how do you win them back? How do you get them back into your stores, whether that's online or in person? So that's the funnel. I'll kind of pause quickly if anybody has any questions about like kind of the funnel. Feel free to drop it in the chat. We can kind of come back to it, but I just kind of want to go through at the high level what a customer lifecycle looks like. Okay, so I think maybe we have a poll for this one, Alina. It's just which channels and tactics do you think are the most important? And I think most people will start here, right? They'll jump in and they'll start, get my website. I need a website. I need like Instagram posts. I need to be on TikTok now. I need, an email list. They'll just jump into the channels and start executing, right? This is where I would recommend not doing, okay? Don't be one of these people is what I'm saying. It's very, very tempting to just run in and get my website out and start posting stuff. What you really want to do before you get into this is understand your brand and your strategy. And I think there was a course around buyer personas, which it's awesome that you guys had that in the founder fundamentals. Very, very important step, right? You need to understand your customers. You need to understand your brand and like why you should win, okay? So this phase is, I think people voted for digital marketing strategy. This is the strategy right here, okay? You need to understand customer research. You need to understand your competitors. You take that information, you need to understand how you're going to position your products or services to win. And then there's some planning of like, which channels should we use? What are the target numbers that we need to hit? How do we measure our data and kind of just consistently month to month see how we're doing? Okay, so I'm going to jump into customer research. This is the very, very important step, I would say. So like, I think we might have a poll for this one too, just around in the last 90 days, how many customers have you talked to? Whether it's potential customers, existing customers, customers in the past, in the last 90 days, have you talked to 0, less than 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 30, 30 or more customers, okay? So I'll leave it for a few minutes. Let's see after people have a chance to kind of put their answers into the polls. Okay, so majority, it looks like the number one option is 1 to 5. There's a few folks doing 5 to 10 and 10 to 30. Great job over there to those folks that kind of put that. And then there's a few folks that haven't had a chance yet to talk to customers. For the folks that are kind of in that bucket, I highly, highly recommend this is the first place to start, okay? And I'm doing this for my own business, so I'm not even just saying this to tell you to do it. I do this for my own business too, is just understanding. So we're thinking about pivoting and working only with kids brands, and I'm interviewing kids brands and talking specifically to founders in that space. So I really understand what are their pains, what are their challenges, what are the things that they need when they're looking for a solution provider. So the questions that you can ask are, okay, sorry, this poll's in my way, I can't read it. Okay, what was going on when you bought X? Okay, you want to understand the overall situation for that person when they started looking for the product that you provide, right? You want to know what finally made you decide, I need this, this is the trigger, right? This is, I finally said, you know what, I'm going to buy this thing I've been thinking about buying forever. What was that trigger for this person? All right. Another question, how are you feeling at that point? You want to understand their problem, right? You want to understand the root of the why. Why are they buying this? What problem are they trying to sell? A lot of brands, they focus on features, right? Like they'll talk about feature A, feature B, feature C. what you really need to understand is like the underlying need, right? The underlying, like, what are they trying to fulfill? Whether it's like, you know, drawing a blank for an example, but you want to kind of get at what is the underlying why and what is the underlying pain point so that you can talk about it in your marketing, right? What alternatives did you consider? That's also a very good question to kind of ask so that you can see what things that you need to talk about to kind of address their alternatives. And then why did you eventually buy X, right? What were the main reasons that drove you to decide to buy that specific problem? This is really important because it'll give you the priorities of what your buyer cares about, right? You can talk about 10 things, 20 things. They don't care about it. They really care about those 1 to 2 key things. And the more people you talk to, the more you can kind of get a sense of, okay, it's not just a one-off, right? Like I keep hearing these repeated patterns of like the same thing. And that's why I say it's really important to talk to as many of these customers as you can. So you see the patterns, you see the unmet needs. You'll start seeing like, oh, all the products out there don't provide this. There's just like, nobody even like, they're just frustration points that are unfulfilled, right? So what made you almost not buy? You know, what's the one thing you can do now that you weren't able to do before? Again, these are some examples. You can probably Google and find like a bunch of customer interview questions, but a very, very important step. Sorry, there's one more at the end. What's still annoying about X? Another good question to ask as you're doing this kind of research. So I'm gonna pause on the customer interview. If you don't have customers or it's kind of hard for you to get customers, there's other places for you to get data research, right? And one of them is what we call review mining. So Amazon is freaking fabulous for this because for the most part, there's fake reviews, but they do try to, as much as they can, like have real reviews, right? Versus on the website, sometimes you'll notice that it's like all positive reviews. So this is an example. I'm going to jump into Amazon actually and kind of do a quick walkthrough of this. So let me see if I can exit. Everybody still with me? You see Amazon? Okay, we're going to use this one as an example. Okay, fruit snack rolls. I think they're like, you know, that candy that sell to kids, but healthier version, right? So tons of reviews on here. Let me go down and we'll kind of do this together. Okay, one of the best things ever is this Q&A thing, okay? You know what people care about and what they're asking about your competitors' products. You know what are concerns, right? How many grams of sugar, okay? If I have less grams of sugar than this product, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a side-by-side. This is their product, this is our product, this is product C. We have the lowest sugar by far, whatever grams of sugar it is, right? Again, they care about whether it's peanut or nut free. You know, you probably want to talk about that in your copy somewhere or on your website or in your emails. Is it made from real fruit? This Q&A is just a gold mine of just like, what do buyers care about when they're, you know, searching for these products and deciding whether or not they want to buy them, okay? The other thing here, they do this little summary thing. Again, gold mine here, right? Like they kind of like pop up these keywords, right? And you can, again, use this in your copy because this is the voice of your customer, right? These are the things that they keep talking about. You know, I have the pickiest, my kids are the pickiest eaters ever, but they love them. You know, it tastes like fruit and it's so low sugar. Like all of the copy that you can kind of pull and start positioning from comes from a lot of either that research, whether you're talking to customers or some of this like other research that you can do. And then let's go to the reviews. So what I like to do, I don't know why this is not loading. I think I accidentally went to the Canadian site or something. Okay, let's just use this one. Organic peas. There's a lot of ratings for these peas. So I'll go through and start reading 5-star reviews, right? You kind of go through and start seeing if there's like key insights from all these 5-star reviews of why people buy them, why they like them, why they specifically do the product, and then do the opposite, right? So you go to 1 star, and then this is where you can really find some positioning wins, right? Like, okay, this thing tastes bitter, smells like alcohol, you know, I wanted to spit it out, tasted horrid. So once you start going through, you'll see patterns, right? And it helps you with your positioning to be like, don't buy just another product that tastes terrible, um, you can kind of, or bitter or horrid. You can literally use the words that you find in these reviews in your copy, because I guarantee it'll resonate because these are customers, right? So let me hop back in. I don't know if I can get back to full screen, but that's okay. You see the slides? Everybody see the slides? We're back in? Okay. So that's the Amazon, the 5-star. Oh, there we go. And then the 1-star review. This is the one thing. So my one thing, the reason I point this out is, if you're gonna take anything away from this talk and spending this kind of hour, 2 hours with, do this. And I know like a lot of people don't even want to do, like, what does this have to do with digital marketing? This is not like, this is just like customer research. This is like talking to customers, right? Like, do this. Like this is the one thing that I'm telling you. People just don't do it. They just don't do it. So like, if not, there's 100 people and 99% of the time they're not willing to talk to their customers and not willing to do the research. If you are the 1%, you already are miles away ahead of them in terms of your strategy, your positioning, what you want to say. It makes it so much easier, right? You have all those notes, you have your strategy of how we're going to get in there. Now, when you get to the channels, it's so much easier, right? You know what you want to talk about, you know how you're going to position. And also, if you talk to your customers, you know what channels they're on, right? Like, those are questions you can ask too, just like, where do you spend the most time? Whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, how do you research your products? Maybe some people say, I search on YouTube, I search on Google, I search, stuff on Facebook groups. All that stuff you find out in those interviews too, right? Like, that helps you with your channel prioritization strategy. A lot of people say, like, where should I start? I don't know. Who's your customer, right? Who's your customer? Where do they want to look for their products? That's where you need to find out. So again, beating a dead horse here, but this is the one thing from this session. If you're going to remember anything, remember this one thing we just went through. Okay, some other sources. Again, talking to customers, best way to do it. Second best, I think, is some of the review mining stuff that we went through, but there's so much information these days. There's forums, you can run interviews, surveys, polls, studies online, newspaper reports, jump on a bunch of different websites. There's a lot of places these days where you can kind of find people talking about different things. You just need to kind of spend some time to kind of do that research and do that work to find out what they're saying. Okay, so I have another activity here. I think this is a chat question. Once you kind of get all that research, the second step I would recommend is put together some goals, right? Like number-driven KPIs is just a fancy word for key performance indicator. All it is what's your goal? What's the number that you need to hit, right? Whether that's $10,000 a month, $1,000 a month, $100 a month, $100,000 a month. What is your sales target? Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of a hypothetical situation here where we're going to try to get $10,000, right? How much traffic do I need for $10,000 in sales? Can anybody in the chat tell me what that is or what that number might be? One big sale for Sean. He's going to sell one big item. Okay, so let me kind of jump into a calculator here for this. Really simple thing, but important to kind of come through is just, here's, actually Sean's right, it's one. I put one in here just as a starting point. So here's the $10,000, right? AOV is like how much your product, your average order values are. So let's say it's 50 bucks, right? And then this conversion rate, again, this is from your website. You can get it measured through Google Analytics or some other tools and know, out of 100 people, 2 people buy. That's your conversion rate, okay? When you have these numbers, you can then start playing around with these levers to figure out what we need to change, where do we need to go, right? So like for traffic, let's say your site converts people at 2%. Let's say, on average, it's 50 bucks an order and you want $10,000 a month. You need 10,000 people to hit your site. Okay, that's your target. You need to figure out, how am I going to get 10,000 people to get to the website every month so we hit this $10,000 target. Okay, if your site's not converting as well, oops, broke it. Okay, you need 20,000, right? You play with these numbers, right? So there's, to make money in e-commerce, right? There's only a few levers you're pulling, right? You're either pulling, we need more eyeballs, we need more people to hit the site, the traffic, right? We need to convert better, right? The website needs to be updated. We need to get this 1%. I want to get it to like 2.5% by the end of the year. You know, maybe it's like more emails, more retargeting ads to get people to like come back and buy. There's different levers for this to kind of improve this conversion rate. And then AOV, this is where you start seeing people release, you know, product bundles, or maybe it's like, you know, when they're at the cart, there's a little offer to like add something else, cross sell. Starbucks does a good job of this, where they like send you offers to like buy breakfast when you like, you know, you buy your coffee. They know you just only buy coffee. They try to upsell you into latte, or, you know, buy a breakfast sandwich. Again, they're trying to move this number, the AOV, every time you order. How do we get a bigger basket size from you? Okay, so this is GA. I highly recommend, if you don't have GA, Google Analytics, sorry, install it. It's free. You know, it's pretty simple to add to your website. You just kind of drop some script in there, and you can start measuring all of these things: traffic, conversion rate, your monthly sales numbers. Okay, so let me go back to present. Okay, then, okay, do all that research, figure out your targets, figure out your numbers, make sure you can start tracking. Then we start getting into the planning of the channels, okay? And there's website, there's email marketing, there's paid search, there's social media, there's conversion rate optimization, SMS, content marketing, affiliate marketing, SEO, videos, YouTube, influencer. There's no shortage of channels. And, you know, to be honest, like every month, it seems like for a marketer, there's a new hot channel that kind of pops up, right? So the reason I really recommend you do the research first is there's no way that you can hit all these channels all at once, right? You will go crazy. It's impossible. You need to figure out what's the one or two that I need to start with, right? And where is it going to make the most sense? And that research is going to tell you what to do, as opposed to you kind of just making a guess, right? Like most people, just because it's fairly easy, will start with their website and start with social media, right? And that may or may not be the right play, but the more you can kind of talk to people, the better. So I think the key thing here, pick 1 to 2 key channels. Again, customer interviews are very, very important. Prioritize whatever you find out from those interviews as you pick the 2 channels, right? Do not try to be everything to everyone everywhere, right? I can't stand it when I ask somebody, you know, who's your customer? Who do you sell to? And they say, oh, anybody would love my product. Like, it's everybody would love it. It's for everyone. As a marketer, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot market this product, because it's like, that is so expensive, right? Like, you're basically saying, just shoot it out to everybody. And that is really, really expensive as a marketer, to try to like, just try to, you know, you're throwing a dart into the ocean basically, and just hoping that it hits. You want to be very, very specific. The more specific you are, the more targeted your ads are, the better they're going to convert, the better that you're going to kind of get into whatever it is that, whoever it is that you're trying to pitch and sell to. And then where to start. So I think if you're on the product side of things, you probably have heard about this, or lean startup, and this idea MVP, right? Minimum viable product. I think my favorite story is Zappos, right? So I think Zappos, the guy like literally went to the mall and like took pictures of shoes at the shoe store and put them online. And then when you bought the shoes from his website, he would go back to the mall and like grab the shoes and package them up and ship them to you. That was his product, right? No inventory, no whatever. He just literally was selling shoes from the mall, right? How do you be smart like that, right? How do you not waste money and just kind of build your MVP? I want you to apply that to your marketing, okay? So like I made up a goofy acronym for this, but I'm calling it the MVM, okay? What's your minimal viable marketing funnel, right? What's like the cheapest, easiest way for you to get started to start seeing some sales, okay? I'm kind of tempted to do like this weekend workshop where we just spend 4 hours and literally try to build a website for like under $100 and get social posts up for the year. It's possible. You just need to be smart about it. And again, if you have the research, it makes all your copy easier. You write all these posts because you know what you want to talk about versus you're kind of like, well, what should I talk about? What do people want me to post about? You have no idea. You didn't do the work to find out. Okay, so I'm gonna get into some tools and tech. Actually, I wanna go through each of these sections. And then if you have any questions related to websites, conversion rate, optimization, landing page stuff, feel free to drop it in the chat while we kind of go through each of these sections. I have a section for each of the different channels. Happy to kind of answer any channel specific questions as we kind of go through it. So again, feel free to participate, jump in and kind of put it in the chat. So the two biggest ones I would say for for websites are WordPress and Shopify. There's other ones obviously that you can build websites for, but I would say these are probably the two main places. If you're e-commerce, I'd probably highly recommend you use Shopify. There's WooCommerce too that you can run off of WordPress, but I just find Shopify has a better ecosystem of like partners and things that integrate into it. WooCommerce and WordPress is good too. There's a lot of freedom to like build it the way that you want to build it, but a lot of times people get lost in that as well. So it's not as easy, I would say, as Shopify. Unbound is a landing page tool. There's a bunch of landing page tools. So again, this is minimum viable product here, right? Like some people don't even start with a website. They just go straight to a landing page builder. It's drag and drop tool, and they just have their page one, right? And they're sending ads to that page one and seeing if it works before they even bother, spending time trying to build up this full website with like 10, 20 pages. Can you get someone to buy from your page, right? A couple of two other useful resources I dropped in here is Hotjar. So Hotjar, I think I have it here. I think it's free. Yeah. So I love this tool. It's free, which is also why I love this tool because you get like 1,000 sessions a month. So this tool helps you do a couple of things. You can ask questions. So I'm big on feedback and data, right? So like you can ask these little poll questions. There's little pop-ups that you can like ask specific questions like, are you not seeing what you're looking for here? What's stopping you from buying? Stuff like that. They have heat maps and you can actually watch recordings, which is very, very interesting just to like see somebody navigate your own website. Things that you think were super intuitive, where it's just like, they're just like looking around for something and all of a sudden you just see them exit. Very, very interesting. You can get a lot of insights that help you improve your conversion rate, improve your overall website. Go back here, Envato Market. So this is, again, this is like a theme store. There's a bunch of these different theme stores, but you come in and buy a theme, either it's a Shopify theme, a WordPress theme, fairly cheap. There's also free themes, to be honest, too. Like those are a good starting point for some startups that don't have a lot of budget that want to just get started. The one thing that I would say with themes, if you're choosing a theme, a couple of things to look out for. Okay, one, make sure it's like obviously you can read the reviews, right? But I think there's like this section that talks about last time it's been updated. Okay, so this one's pretty good. It was updated like just last month. If someone has not updated this thing in like 2 years, good luck getting any support, right? Like something doesn't work, there's just nobody still supporting that theme, right? Or there's a new bug that needs to get fixed, there's nobody around to. So this date, I would highly recommend not just the reviews, but see that it's active and being updated. The other thing too, I would say too, if you're starting out, pick a theme and don't try to customize it too much. So like a lot of people will pick a theme and then they're like, but yeah, I want to like change it to look like this and like add this. That's the complete opposite of the theme. You just bought that theme or you just use that free theme so that you can drop your images in, drop your copy in and content in, and you're online, you're up and running, right? When you start tweaking and wanting to get this perfect and wanting to get that perfect, and I don't like this design, can we change it like that? One, a lot of costs now. You're going to get a custom, like a developer involved or somebody involved to like help you maybe with customizing it. And to be honest, at the beginning, it's just not that necessary, right? There's bigger things to tackle. Okay, so those are the website stuff. I didn't see any questions on the website, so I'll kind of go on. So the next one's social media. Couple tools and things I wanted to highlight here. So Canva, I think you guys covered it in your branding session you mentioned, but this presentation is built in Canva. Canva is amazing. If you do not have Canva, highly recommend you go and get it, right? So like you can do stuff like Instagram posts, right? And they have all these amazing templates, right? Like you're like, okay, I need help with Black Friday. Right, and there's like, oh, that one looks nice, right? One thing I would suggest too is, since these are templates, a lot of times like you'll see some brands, they just use it as is, right? And then the thing is, once you go to social media, you're like, hey, I remember seeing that post. It's like one of the templates, right? What I would highly recommend you do is like mix and match a little bit, okay? So like, I'm gonna take, let's take this box, okay? So this is a cool, okay, this is the cool box. I like this box, but maybe I'm just gonna get rid of like all this other stuff. And I like this copy, and I can easily just copy, come in here and drop it here. You know, maybe there's another element from like some of these other ones that you like. You know, I like this little circle thing. I'm gonna drop it in here. You can't see it because it's all black, but I think you get the point. It's just like pretty easy, just like copy and paste, right? You don't need too much design skills to be able to kind of just start mixing up some of these designs, get stuff out the door, get your calendar of like posts scheduled out just so that you have, you know, something. And then the other social tool I highly recommended was Buffer. Again, I'm trying to pick the free stuff. There's other stuff I put there that's paid, like Hootsuite, Sprout Social's really good. There's Tailwind, which is good for Pinterest if you do a lot of Pinterest. But this is a free one. I think you get 3 channels. So this is a scheduling tool, right? So once you have all your posts, you can kind of just schedule them in, so you're not having to like remember to make a post on the weekend or at night or something. You can kind of just use a tool like this to schedule it on your posts. Okay, I don't think there's any questions on social. Are there themes better for SEO than others? I don't think the theme necessarily impacts SEO that much. It does and it doesn't. So like you want good customer experience, you want page load to be pretty decent. So the theme has some impact there. But like any theme that you choose to, there's more control on the WordPress side, honestly, than Shopify for SEO. But yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily a theme is SEO better than another one. Okay, so email marketing tools. Is anybody doing email marketing? Kind of curious what platforms people are using if they are on email. Feel free to just drop it in the chat. The 2 most popular ones, HubSpot is pretty popular. HubSpot mostly more for like B2B, business to business as opposed to business to consumer, I find, although they do have like the marketing solution as well. MailChimp seems to be a popular choice. Okay, so yeah, MailChimp's pretty popular. I think they have a free tier that everybody typically uses because it's free. And it's pretty easy to use, right? It's drag and drop template builder. You can kind of get up and running pretty quickly. What I do find though is there's a couple things that are a little bit annoying with MailChimp. So one, if you have multiple audiences, you're paying for that contact multiple times. And I don't think a lot of people even realize this, because I'll come in and they'll have like 20 audiences and all these lists, and they're paying for the same person across all those lists. And then their flows and their segmentation and their reporting is a little clunky. If you're not doing a ton of that, it's okay. But if you are running off of Shopify, I do highly recommend Klaviyo. I can kind of give you a quick sneak peek of it here. So this is Klaviyo. What's great is they have all these like pre-built flows, right? Like, so like abandoned cart, browse abandonment, meaning someone looked at a product but didn't buy it, viewed few versus many, birthday program, welcome flow, anniversary, customer win back flows. So there's just like, there's a lot more you can do on the automation side of things, I find in Klaviyo. So if you are e-commerce, highly recommend you check that out. The other thing too is like their segmentation builders a lot better, I find too. Like you can get down to like predicted gender, you can get down to like, you know, lifetime customer value. They just have a lot, like I can do people that opened, let's do, I want to know people that clicked my email in the last 30 days and, you know, they never bought. That's an or, but, you know, you can kind of build out a lot of these, you know, if someone is on a specific list or a specific city or something, you can get really sophisticated with how segmented you go. Okay, so there's a couple questions. Let me try to answer some of these email questions. Is it legal to email market in Canada? So yes, as long as you're compliant. So consent is a big thing in Canada, right? You want to make sure you capture consent, that you're only emailing people that, you know, opt into your list, and not, you know, buying lists or that kind of thing. That thing will get you into trouble pretty quickly. And then you also want to make sure, you know, you have your address at the bottom, you have an unsubscribe link, people can get off the list if they want to. As long as you do it properly, it's not a problem. I use the one in Shopify. Didn't allow it through Shopify, yeah. But there was anti-spam laws. Yeah, so again, let me show this too. It's just okay. What you want to do, right, on your website, again, there's some templates for this, is capture email and capture consent, right? So whether it's an offer, like a 10% discount or a gift or download this PDF or something, and then someone puts their email address. This one has like an SMS opt-in as well here. You want to do something to capture consent, get those emails, and then you can kind of market to them afterwards. But yeah, very important to get people to sign up and not necessarily just start emailing them. Sorry, there's another question. Let me see if I can try to answer it. Yeah, consent as in explicitly subscribing to your list. Best site to register a .ca or .com domain. Host a WordPress. No immediate need for payments or simply show fixed prices. I'm not sure what that means at the end there, but I mean, the most well-known one I think that people know is like GoDaddy, right? So GoDaddy is pretty huge. I think they're having a 99-cent sale right now where you can buy a domain for like $1 for the first year. It goes way up afterwards. So that's pretty popular. I have some of my domains on GoDaddy. The other one I use sometimes is 1-in-1. So this is way cheaper. So the hosting is just super cheap here. You can get like an email account for like, I forget what it is, probably like $2 or something like that. I use Google email for my own personal stuff, but there's some cheaper options out there. If you're doing WordPress, WP Engine's really good. They're a little bit pricey, but once you kind of get to that scale, I'd recommend using something like WP Engine. They give you different environments, so you can have like a testing and, you know, staging server, a production server. It lets you clone back and forth. They take care of backups. They have a support team. They're pretty fabulous. So highly recommend them. But yeah, at the beginning, when you're just starting out, you know, something like this, they have hosting here too. Kind of cheap. Good place to start, and you can always migrate it later. Okay, so let's jump back in here. So slides, the last two on the bottom here are just two other examples. Attentive is the SMS, very popular SMS platform, and then really good emails, just a website. If you want inspiration for emails, just a nice place to go check out some really good emails, just for your own stuff. Okay, tools, SEO, content marketing. I would say the gold standard, little biased because we use this at an agency I used to work at, is SEMrush. Ahrefs is also very, very popular for keyword research. And they're both, the SEMrush too is really good for like competitor research. You can pop a competitor website in there and it'll tell you everything they're ranking for in terms of keywords and try to project, their organic and paid traffic and all that kind of stuff. So these are super useful. I think it's pretty expensive. It's probably like $100 a month, but I do think they have a 30-day trial. So if you want, you can kind of do a bunch of research, at least for a month to kind of see if it's useful for you. Other tools I put in here, BuzzSumo is really good to kind of do some research on content. Google Search Console, Google Trends is free. Obviously, you can kind of just type in a few keywords in there. There's other free keyword tools too. If you probably type best free keyword search tools, you'll find a bunch of them that give you volume. I think I was doing one just before the call. So yeah, so this is SEMrush. Yeah, I found this one, right? This is called WordStream. So I put Candy. It gives me like monthly search volume, top of page bid. So there are some free tools out there. I didn't have to do anything to get them to show me this. So you can be resourceful and probably find some stuff out there too. Okay, paid search, paid social. Obviously, there's quite a bit here. It's hard to kind of get into in one session, but everything from Google ads to Facebook ads to TikTok ads to LinkedIn and Instagram. SEMrush also is very useful here for keyword research. But yeah, I would say again, go back to your customer research, figure out which place to start. And I would actually highly recommend you try running ads yourself first before you hire anyone, just so that you go through that process. And there's a lot of courses and a lot of stuff you can kind of read up on how to set up ads. Just even if it's very little budget, just kind of go through it and learn it a little bit. And then when you manage somebody else, whether it's a freelancer, agency, whoever, you have a little bit more knowledge versus, says I'm not presenting. Does everybody not see my screen?
We can see your screen, you're just not in presenter mode.
Oh, okay, I'll go back to the present. Okay. Yeah, highly recommend you just go through it yourself. It'll help you when you do hire someone, that you can kind of speak the same language and kind of understand things. Otherwise, it's like a little bit of a black box, and you're trusting somebody else to kind of figure it out for you. Okay, so the last section I have is around hiring tips. I think a lot of people, I think we have a poll actually for this one. Who do you think is the best person to do your marketing? And oops, go back in. I don't know where the poll went, but I know we have a poll and a couple of options there. I would say a lot of times startups go through a cycle, and this is usually the cycle. They will do it themselves at first, just starting off, not a lot of budget, trying to figure stuff off. You kind of just start and do as much as you can yourself. Then they typically hire freelancers, right? A little bit cheaper. Maybe you find somebody that can help you with specific channels, or like a freelancer that isn't too expensive compared to an agency. And then typically, I see it kind of cycle back to either they do it themselves again, they start growing a little bit, maybe they hire somebody who's like a coordinator who just kind of like does a little bit of everything for them. And then it'll shift back out again, because that only kind of gets you to a certain point, and then you just don't have the channel knowledge and depth. And then you either kind of go freelancer again, or you go agency again, and then you hire there. And then it actually comes back in-house again. It kind of flip-flops. So there's this kind of like cycle of hiring that happens typically for most startups, of like just kind of depending on what phase you're at. I do have some tips. So like if you're looking for freelancers, myself, so good to see everybody's willing to kind of roll up their sleeves and do a little bit of it themselves to at least start. Agency also popular choice there. So for freelancers, there's a couple sites, Upwork, Fiverr, pretty broad, bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. There's like some people that are really good, some people that are like pretty terrible on there. So you just got to be careful. And then Marketer Hire, TopTal, I would say those are very, they're more expensive. So they're both positioned themselves as like, the top 1% of talent, right? Top tells more developers and marketer hires more on like the marketing side of things. But you can kind of go to those different places to hire. What I would say, this is kind of my process whenever if I ever need a freelancer, is just, are they detail oriented and do they follow instructions? Because I lose my mind when they don't understand and follow instructions. So even in my job posting, I'll put like, start your cover letter with purple bird or something random like that. And if they don't start their cover letter with purple bird, I don't look at their job. Like I don't even look at the rest of their posting because they didn't read the instructions, right? If they're not going to read the job posting, they're not going to read the instructions you send them later of what they need to do. How busy are they? So just make sure you understand, how many clients do you have? How busy are you? Where are you going to be in that priority list, right? You don't want to be the smallest client and they have like all these big clients and they have all these timelines they got to hit. You're going to get neglected. So just kind of get a sense of, who are they working with, how many of them, and like what is the size compared to me. And then how much hand holding do you want to provide? Again, there's a big trade-off between cost and time, right? There are people that are way, way cheaper, but you have to be very, very clear with your instructions of like, this is what I want, right? Versus, you pay a little bit more. There are people that, very little instruction and they'll just take it and run with it. So you kind of do get what you pay for. Know upfront how much hand holding you're willing to provide. And then are they really an expert? So like, I'm a little biased here too, but I find marketing's gotten so complicated that it's very hard to say, yeah, I know SEO and I'm channel expert at SEO and I know email marketing and I can run your ads for you. And yeah, you want to do influencer marketing or, affiliate marketing? I can help you with that too. Like as soon as someone says that to me, I'm like, okay, like I get bad vibes off already that like, you're not probably an expert in all those things, right? There's this concept of a T marketer where you have breadth, kind of know all the channels, but there's like one or two big channels that are your kind of deepest knowledge. It's just too hard to be that much of an expert on every single channel. There's just too much to learn. Okay, so agency. If you're gonna go agency route, I have a couple questions here too to help a little bit. The biggest one I would say is ask who's gonna be on my account, okay? The people that sell you up front are typically the partners. They're typically, the lead strategists. They are going to sound good and they have tons of experience, right? But what you want to know is who are you putting on my account, right? How much experience have they have? How long have they been working? What industries have they worked with? It's you. What you don't want is, you hire this agency, you think they're capable, and then you get stuck with someone they literally hired out of school and you're like hand holding that person. Very important. You want to figure out their values and cultural fit. I think that's always a good thing to kind of make sure you align on. You want to know what they need from you. What's their process, right? Like ask up front so you have a good understanding of, what it's going to be like working with that agency and, how much support they need from you to be successful. And the other thing I would suggest you ask is just like, how many clients is that team working on? And then how big is your account compared to the other clients? Again, you don't want to be the biggest fish because they're basically learning off of your account, right? And you don't want to be the smallest fish because they got big accounts and you're going to get neglected when there's fires over at that big account. You want to be somewhere, in that middle of their list of client accounts. Yeah, and that's kind of takes us to the end. I have a little bit of time, I guess, for Q&A. If anybody does have any questions, either drop it in the chat or Alina, I don't know how you normally handle Q&A.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jason, for that incredible presentation. We do have a question from Amy regarding freelancers. She's asking, what will the freelancers be doing for her? What is the job description of a freelancer? And will she have to give her, would she have to give access to her social media accounts?
It depends, right? Like, so freelancer is, what is the job? So a freelancer just means like they're independent, meaning, there's people that work for a company, like maybe they work for a marketing company, and there's an account manager, there's an SEO person, there's all these different people with different roles. Freelancers typically are independent, right? So let's say you need a website done, right? You could, if you wanted to, go find a freelancer, a developer that just takes on clients of his own, and that person would, help you build the website. They know how to code. Typically, most freelancers are niche, right? So it's like, I need SEO help, I need social media help, I need website help. So it just kind of depends on what you need and who you're hiring.
Perfect, great. Please feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself to ask a question. And just as an icebreaker, Jason, I had a question regarding social media. If you could just speak on the social media algorithm, what is a good time to post, how to crack that code really?
What channel?
Well, you tell us what's the most popular one. I hear TikTok is very popular, but let's talk about Facebook, Instagram for the time being. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why, again, it depends, right? And it depends on your segment, which is why, again, I keep harping on that one thing, but that customer research is important, right? Because like, if you're talking about LinkedIn, right, it's like Monday to Friday, right? Like, don't bother posting anything on a weekend. Nobody's gonna look at it, right? They typically will jump on when they're in the office or after work. The other thing too is just like the target customer, right? So like, for example, we do a lot of targeting of parents, right? Like moms and dads for different products. Like what we find is there's an early morning time slot, right? And then there's also a late at night time slot, right? Like, so like for whatever reason, well, I guess the reason they put the kids to bed, right? Like they put the kids to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, they're back on their phone. That's a good time to hit them back in. Like, so it kind of depends on who you're targeting, what channel you're targeting. That answer varies. I mean, there's best practices. You could probably Google it yourself, and it's usually like, like for email, as an example, it's always like Tuesdays at 10 a.m. is the best practice. But you kind of need to figure out for your segment and test it a little bit to see what's the best answer for you.
Just to add on to this conversation in general, I know that we mentioned about freelancing and whatnot. Just a reminder as well that for the grants that you guys can apply for, you can, depending on how you want to budget and what's best for your business, you can actually use the money to hire these freelancers through the grant money. So for those who are, you're hesitant on putting your hard-earned cash into someone you don't know online, right? This grant money is a great opportunity for you to put your finger in the water here, put your toe in the water here, and see what you can do with it, right? Because I know a lot of people are nervous about, I don't know this person online and whatnot, but from my experience dealing with people from online, they provide a lot of outside the box thinking, right? You guys have all been doing your business for years. That can often lead you to kind of pigeonhole your way of thinking. Getting a fresh set of eyes, a fresh pair of a new brain help you out can really provide perspective on how you can really expand your business and all. But
Yeah, great. Thank you for that, Anthony. Are there any questions? Just feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. I'm just going over the chat to see I didn't miss any question.
Are there any workshops that are out there, like the one that you had mentioned about the 4-hour one? I know you were joking, but is there anything out there currently that you're aware of?
Nothing that short. I know there's like multi-month programs and stuff like that, but yeah, maybe there is a unmet need of like a weekend workshop of get your stuff live. But yeah, I don't. Nothing comes to mind.
So the small business center in Markham, we offer a variety of workshops and seminars. So the one that we're playing right now is going to be on December 1st. It's about an hour to 2-hour seminar. It's like in person. So the one that the topic that we're going for right now is no cost digital tools. So we essentially come in and we provide you with like a demo of like these variety of free tools that you can use for your business. So we go over Canva, we go over Hootsuite, we go over Google 360 photos, and then we kind of just run through the program, and then we have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, we can kind of provide that one-on-one support to teach you that program. But yeah, I left the link for the actual Markham Small Business website in the chat so if you want to take a look at that and email myself or email my coworkers, we can definitely hook you up with that.
Perfect. Jason Jessley is asking, do you have a favorite or preferred SEO strategy?
No, not necessarily. I think again, I hate to keep saying it, but it depends on your business. So like for some brands, it makes sense to start with like local SEO, which is very different, right? You want your My Google business profile all kind of fixed up. You want to get as many reviews as you want because it's like, people are searching stuff near me, and you want to show up that way. For some businesses, that doesn't make sense, right? For some businesses, there's a lot of education involved in the products themselves. So like you need to go down that content marketing route and create a lot of like really useful content and kind of focus that. So I hate to say it depends, but it does really kind of depend on the type of business you're trying to run and yeah, what makes sense there. Would you like to share a little bit about your business? I also dropped my LinkedIn here on this last slide. Feel free to connect with me. If you have any follow-up questions, shoot me a message. Happy to answer any questions you might have if it kind of pops up after.
Great. Charles, in response to your question, the December 1st event is an event that Markham Small Business is doing. It's not part of Founder Fundamentals. Anthony, if you could share a link for the December 1st event that you were talking, that'd be great.
Yeah, we don't have a link just now. We're still planning out the details of what we're going to be unrolling. So I left my email out. If you guys want to, who's interested, just send me an email saying you're interested to sign up for it. And I will be sure to get you guys in the loop for the link and have you sign up as soon as we can. I just dropped my email there. Just send me an email saying, hey, you on the Founder Fundamentals workshop. You mentioned a workshop on December 1st. Provide more information, and we'll go from there.
Great. Are there any more questions? Any last thoughts regarding the session today? All right. Well, as Jason was saying, you do have his LinkedIn on screen. If you want to reach out to Jason, you can do so. You can also reach out to me if you have any follow-up questions, and I'll make sure that I'll put your questions to Jason. Well, I guess that concludes the session for today. Jason, thank you so much. This was extremely informative. I absolutely loved all the tools and the resources you shared with us. So once again, on behalf of Markham Small Business Center and Y-Space, I thank you. I really appreciate your time and effort that you put into this session. Thank you, Anthony and Jacob, for being here. And thank you to all the amazing attendees for attending today's session. I hope to see you all next Tuesday for our next session that we've planned for you. Till then, take good care of yourself and have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Bye.